One time I accidentally booked the most haunted hotel in Chicago for my friend and I am no longer allowed to book hotels. My friend and I were traveling to Chicago. It was my first time. She had been there before. I just went online. I found a hotel that was not super expensive, good reviews, and centrally located. And that was the Congress Plaza Hotel in Chicago, which is the most haunted building in Chicago, supposedly. We get into Chicago at like 11 o'clock at night. We get into an Uber from the airport to our hotel. Uber driver's being really chatty. We pull up to the Congress Plaza Hotel and he says, "Oh, my daughter's obsessed with this hotel. It's the most haunted hotel in Chicago." And we said, "What?" And he said, "Yeah, she really wants to stay the night here because it's supposedly really haunted." And we were like, "Please tell us you're joking." He was not joking, and pulled up and was like, "Okay, see ya, have a good stay." At this point, we're terrified because I cannot do haunted, my friend cannot do haunted. Even like the idea of it being haunted, whether or not it actually was, we just were like, we're not gonna sleep. This is worst case scenario. Okay, this is the hotel that we pull up to. You can't really tell in this, but it's like pretty old. It was built in like the 1800s, like the late 1800s was when it was like booming. This is the lobby that we walked in. No one's in the lobby, and granted it's 11 o'clock at night, but still it felt very like we had the idea of it being haunted in our minds, so that colored our experience here. We check in with the bellhop and we're like, haha, our Uber driver just said this place is haunted, hoping he'll be like, "Oh, that's just rumors, like we never have any issues." And he's like, yeah, we get that a lot. So he didn't reassure us at all. He basically confirmed. So at that point, we're like, okay, stick it out. We can do this. We go to the elevator. This is the elevator, beautiful. We get in, our room was on the 11th floor. Let's just get to the room and we'll see how we feel, is what we decided. Because again, it's like 11:30 at this point. So we get in the elevator, I push 11, elevator takes us up, doors open, pitch black, just a pitch black hallway. And we said, nope, and went back to the lobby because there was not a shot in hell we were walking down a dark corridor in a supposedly haunted hotel. This is the ballroom, just wanted to show you. It's very pretty, supposedly very haunted. Anyway, so we go back to the lobby. We find a different bellhop this time. Mind you, they're dressed like they are from the 1800s, like red cap, red like button, whatever. Very old school bellhop outfit. And we're like, "Hey, so we just got on the elevator and it opened to a dark corridor." And he goes, "Oh yeah, like that happens sometimes. Just try again and it'll work." And we said, "What happens sometimes? What do you mean?" Anyway, so I don't know how we did it, how we made ourselves do it, but we went up that elevator again and we walked all the way to our room. Now these are the hallways. And it doesn't look very eerie because it's not nighttime. The windows are open. But imagine this. If you can see, at the end of this hallway is a door with a tiny window in it. We have to walk through. We probably walked through 3 doors like that down the hallway. It was like a labyrinth. The walls kept like curving around. And we would like curve around and there's all these room numbers. And then we get to another door with a hole in it and we'd have to walk through that. This is kind of like a better image of like how the walls went. Anyway, and here's a better picture of the door with the little window in it, which just felt very insane asylum to me. Spooky. Okay, anyway, we get to our room. It looks a little bit like this. I don't remember exactly what it looked like. We were just freaked out at that point. There was no chance that we were going to stay there. So we got on the phone, found a hotel nearby that had vacancy. We go back to the lobby. They were super nice. They didn't end up charging us. We were like, "I'm so sorry. I know we're annoying, but we can't stay here. Like, we can't do haunted." So at that point, we were like, we're not looking anything up about this hotel until tomorrow. So we got to the new hotel, went to sleep, still didn't sleep great. But the next day we were like, okay, let's Google what this hotel is really about. And this is what we found out. Okay, this is from an article in CBS News, but quoting Chicago Hauntings Ghost Tours. But basically saying it's a super haunted place in Chicago, describes it as being very creepy. It's also like very historical, like a lot of presidents stayed there. Al Capone had like a residence there for a while. And another creepy historical figure was like H.H. Holmes was rumored to frequent the lobby there and like find victims. If you haven't read Devil in the White City, do that now. So there have been many documented at the hotel, too many to try to start a comprehensive list. That's how many there have been. I'm not going to go through this one, but you can pause to read. But his ghost is referred to as the Shadow Man. The most haunted floor is the 12th floor, which is rumored to be haunted by a little boy, and they connect it to the death of Carol Langer, who was a little boy, and hold on, I'll show you. This is his mom. You can pause to read. But basically, she threw her children from a window and then herself. But basically, a lot of people have reported seeing a little boy in the hallway running around. No, thank you. Room 441 is on the 4th floor, and it is supposedly the most haunted room. Many people report calling security because they see a woman standing or hovering over their bed, pushing or tugging on the bed, pulling off their covers. This one doesn't scare me so much, and actually probably would have loved to see Peg Leg Johnny. He's just kind of like a funny ghost who roams the hallways. The ballroom that I showed you, there's also rumors about that. It's called the Gold Room, haunted by a ghost of an old woman. Some have reportedly had her in photographs from their weddings. There's also rumors that photos will be taken and like bridesmaids don't show up in the photos even though they were supposed to be there. And this is what really got us. Legend has it that the elevator often makes unplanned stops on the 8th floor. Remember how our elevator opened up to a dark corridor? Our theory at the time, because something that we Googled, which I can't find now and I don't have any proof that this is true, but there were rumors on these blogs that the 12th floor was completely shut down because it was so haunted. So what we thought happened was our elevator opened on the 12th floor instead of the 11th floor, and that's why it was dark, because it's a closed off floor. I have no idea if that's true, but that's what we thought. Another thing about the elevators, so fun. Anyway, if you're into haunted things, I've heard it's fun to stay at the Congress Plaza Hotel. I will not be joining you, but I wish you the best of luck. And tell Peg Leg Johnny I say hello.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So this happened to my husband and I about 30 plus years ago. And maybe it's the Halloween spirit, but I'll go ahead and tell it. My first TikTok ever. We were watching a friend's beautiful Victorian outside of Doylestown, Pennsylvania. They were away for a week, and we were staying there, my husband and I. And we were watching the house primarily because they had this standard poodle, Bryn, who had a spinal injury, so she didn't have use of her hind end at all. And at night, she would get baby gated into the kitchen. We had a linoleum floor in case she had, accidents. But there was a baby gate in the hallway and one to this little sitting area. And we had gone to bed. We put the gates up and tucked her in and went to bed. And it was a spooky house unto itself. It was beautiful Victorian. And it happened to be a very stormy, rainy night, lightning and the whole thing, whole works. And in the middle of the night, the electric had gone out, the power had gone out, and it was crashing thunder and lightning. And I hear Bryn kind of howling downstairs and crying. And I wake my husband up, and he reaches for the flashlight, and we're going down the steps. And we get to the kitchen, and baby gates are up, and we shine the flashlight. No Bryn, nowhere. But she's crying, and we're like, where is this coming from? And on the other side of the baby gate, in the little sitting area, was the door to the basement, and it had one of those old slide locks, and the slide lock was locked. Baby gate up. This is on the other side of the baby gate. Different background. Family came in and it got really busy and noisy. So Brittany's crying. We can't find her. She is not in the kitchen area. And we realize she's crying from the basement. The door is on the other side of the baby gate that is locked. The basement door is one of those old paneled wood doors, again with the slide lock. It's in the bolted position. My husband hands me the flashlight. He unbolts slides the door. I shine the flashlight down as he's going down the steps, and there she is at the bottom of the steps. Big eyes glowing in the flashlight light, staring up at us at the bottom of the basement steps. So he goes down and he gently scoops her up, walks up the steps, and we don't say a word to each other. I am absolutely freaked out. I can barely hold the flashlight. We put her on her dog bed, make sure the gates are secure. My husband shuts the basement door. We slide the little brass bolt over in the down position. We go back up to bed. I can't close my eyes. He is out in 2 minutes. I don't know, maybe 10, 15, 20 minutes goes by. It's still storming. We still don't have power. We hear Bryn crying again. He bolts right up. He sits right up. I said, oh my God. We get the flashlight. We go down the steps, expecting something different. She is not in the kitchen. Baby gates are up. She is in the basement. We open the door, slide the bolt open, and there she is again at the bottom of the steps. Again, she cannot walk. She has no use of her hind end at all, and she's a big, big standard poodle. He scoops her back up. We go back up, tuck her in, go back to bed. We're both not sleeping. Maybe a half hour goes by. She's howling again, and she's really howling. It was it wasn't a whimper. It was really scared. I am literally holding on to the back of his shirt as we're going down the steps into the hall, knowing full well she is not going to be in the kitchen. It happened 3 times that night that she was down the basement with the bolt slid shut. Many, many years later, we ran into, actually my husband ran into our friends, and it was, good 20 years later. And my husband said, hey, we've always wanted to talk to you about this, but is your house haunted? And he said, oh my God, absolutely. We have jewelry and articles of clothing that go missing for months, and we come home and it's laid out on the bed. And many other things that they did not tell us when they asked us to babysit that house. So really, really unnerving night. A couple of things happened during that week to us personally, but it was really scary. And looking back now, we think, did that happen? Because it was so supernatural to be able to physically pick up a dog like that, knowing what it was doing or whatever it was, and knowing how it was going to affect us. I really think about it now, the psychological part of that, the intelligence of this particular haunt. It's a family favorite story that we've told our kids now that we have kids, and we share with friends that are like, Mom, Dad, tell the story. And we both look at each other like, did this happen? And it did.
Hey, I just checked in to a hotel, and I'm getting bad vibes. I have always wanted to stay at this hotel. This is a very cool hotel in LA. It has such a huge, robust history, LA history and culture and movies. But I'm picking up on a vibe, and I don't know how else to explain that. I'm here for a few days, and I don't want to leave. I'm not going to leave. However, I need you guys to say a prayer for me. It's taking everything in me to not look up this hotel's history, because if I look it up and there's something bad, then it's over. I'm literally not going to sleep at all, and I need to be able to sleep. So in this instance, I'm thinking ignorance is bliss. I'm just going to pretend that everything's fine, because it is. Pretend everything's fine. Luckily, my bedroom isn't giving me crazy vibes, And I love my bathroom. If I could just move the mattress in here, it'd be even better. But let me show you this hallway I had to walk through to get here. Listen, I know that this is nothing, and this is just my brain working overtime, and freaking out because I'm alone in here. So, I know it's nothing, but also I need you guys to also tell me it's nothing. Just tell me it's nothing.
My bathroom light turned on.
Did you guys hear about that 911 operator who got a call at 3:30 in the morning from an abandoned funeral home? If you didn't, I'm about to play it for you. But please keep in mind, this is a funeral home where nobody is currently working. Cops drive by it later to see if anybody was there. It's abandoned, the lights are out, nobody's working, and you can just very faintly hear someone talking.
Hello, 911, this is Erica. How can I help you? Hello? Hello? Hello?
Hey, it's been a little while since I've posted one of these, but my name is Kristen and I lived in a haunted dorm when I was in college. If you haven't seen my other videos, feel free to scroll down this playlist to learn more about the ghostly encounters that I had when I was there. So as I said in previous videos, I lived in a dorm that was 3 separate buildings. And in the dorm that I lived in, we kind of had like a poltergeisty ghost. And then in the dorm next door, in the all-girls dorm, it was all girls at that time, now it's co-ed, but they had a female ghost that had been unalived in a violent manner in the 1950s. Now, I had already seen her once, like fully in the hallway, like full-on saw this girl. And this story is about the second time that I saw her. And this time, I was not alone. So when you're an RA and you're on duty, there's not all nights, you're not on duty every single night, but you're on duty certain nights of the week and you have to do rounds. And so when you do rounds, you do like a 6 o'clock round and 10 o'clock round and then like a 2 to 3 o'clock round in the morning to make sure that everything is okay. And you're doing things like checking windows, balcony doors, making sure nobody's locked out of their rooms. You're looking for fire hydrants and making sure they're where they're supposed to be, that all exterior doors are locked, etc., so on and so forth. Just, making sure things are safe. So when we did late night rounds, because when you're an RA in a building that's actually 3 buildings, you have to go from building to building to building. So when we did late night rounds, we had a male RA that was in our building. So I lived in Fleming Hall, and Fleming Hall had 3 female RAs and 1 male RA, because there was one little L-shaped part of the building that had boys in it. And so our male RA would always volunteer, if we were on duty, to walk with us, and he was an absolute gentleman. He didn't want us walking by ourselves from building to building, which was very nice of him. So we had just gotten done checking the dorm with the ghostly girl next door and hadn't seen anything. I mean, there was no one awake. Like, it was just dead quiet, right? Literally. And we are in the dorm next door. So we are back in our dorm and we're on the 2nd floor and the windows are level because these are basically identical buildings, like boop, 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 1, 2, 3. And they were built, more than 100 years ago. So he is standing at the end of the hallway because we're checking balcony doors, and all of a sudden he's like leaning and looking into the window. And I'm like, what are you looking at? And he goes, do you see that? I was like, what? What are you talking about? He goes, do you see the girl in the window across the courtyard? So I come and stand next to him, and leaning in the window, looking directly at us, is the ghost. Now, she's not immediately outside our window. Like, she's in the other building looking at us from one window to ours. And she's got her 1950s get-up on, exact same outfit I saw her in last time. And she's kind of faded looking. She smiles, waves, and then disappeared. We were a little spooked. Okay, part 2 of the creepiest thing that ever happened to me. And I lived, so if you missed part 1, it's the part right before this, but I lived in a haunted dorm while I was in college. So I just got done like karate chopping open all these doors. There's no one in the bathroom and there's no other entrance or exit to the bathroom. It's just the one door. So I come out and I think, okay, I'm crazy, right? I'm just crazy. And at this point in time, ghost hunters had reached like peak popularity. And my friends and I would watch it and like laugh at it and stuff. And they're like, oh, you know, if you're in a building that's haunted or has a ghost, you should talk to the ghost and like say stuff like, oh, you know, it's nice that you're here. And oops, the ghost is here. So I'm walking down the hall and I was like, you know what? I hung up with my dad. I'm walking back down towards where I was. And I said, you know what? I'm a representative of campus living. If there is like a spooky person in my dorm, you're just welcome to be here. I would just appreciate it if you wouldn't do creepy when I'm not, you know, alone. Like, can you wait till the rest of the girls show up and move in? Because they hadn't even moved in yet. So this is when it happens. And the only way I know how to describe this, if you have ever been standing next to a train as it leaves the station, like in a subway, and your hair like whooshes back from your head, like, because there's like that artificial breeze, that force came down the hall and hit me in the face, like blew my hair back in the face. It sounded like a freaking subway going by, like, so I freak. I like scream. I throw all my papers in the air. I run in my room. I turn on like all the lights. It's like daylight. I have the lights on, the TV on, my Xbox on, like anything that had a light, I turned it on. And then I pulled my covers, like got in my bed and pulled my covers up to my nose. And I was like, I don't want to come out anymore. That was really scary. Luckily, I think that was the only thing that this particular spooky person was interested in doing to me. I had, of course, said to the spooky thing, I was like, hey, you know, if you want to mess with the other girls once they get there, just, you know, don't mess with me when I'm by myself. And the spooky thing did very much mess with the other girls. Luckily, it never messed with me again, except when it came to like locking people out of their rooms. And like it was basically almost like a Peevesy poltergeist. And this isn't even the ghost that was in the building next door. So anyways, that is the creepiest thing that has ever happened to me. Hi, my name's Kristen, and I lived in a haunted dorm when I was in college. And I told you guys about my last experience, or my first experience, with the spooky person that lived inside my dorm, which is the previous 2 videos in this series. And one of you mentioned that, you know, what I said to the spooky person was, please don't like punk me or spook me, because that's what it had done when there's no one else in the building. Like, there's going to be lots of other girls here, so, you know, feel free to prank them and punk them and spook them. And for the 2 years that I lived in this building, 2 years that I lived there, that is exactly what the spooky person did. I don't know. I don't think it was like your typical ghost. I think it was either like the ghost of a frat boy or someone who had a really great sense of humor, although it was very irritating in the middle of the night when these things would happen. But the spooky person would play pranks on the other people in the building. For example, it was very good at taking people's keys and locking them out of buildings, or not their building, or the building, or their rooms themselves. Now, I know dorm rooms have like swipe cards now most of the time, kind of like hotels, but we actually had physical keys to get in and out of the building. And so, for example, one of my girls actually came down to my room to talk, and she set her keys on my desk. And I remember that she set her keys on my desk because I heard the very distinctive, right, here's my classroom keys, right, heard the very distinctive as she put them in my little key dish. So we chit-chatted and hung out for like 30 minutes, and then she said, okay, I'm going to go back down to my room. Well, she stood up and she looked over at my desk where the little key, you know, container was, and her keys were gone. Mind you, we had both watched her, seen her put her keys in the dish. So she goes, maybe I'm crazy, right? That's kind of the thing with this spooky person. It was always like, maybe I'm crazy. I'm just crazy. So she walked back down the hall, and her room was locked. And she had, left her room unlocked before she left because her roommate was in there. And so she texted her roommate, and she was like, hey, did you lock the door? And her roommate was like, yeah, I locked it. I saw you take your keys with you when you were on the way out. So as an RA, I had access to something called a master key. So I had to leave my building, go next door to the building that was called Jarvis, go into the main office. I had to put this big expensive key into this lockbox to open up and get a master key so I could get into other people's rooms. So I walk all the way back to my building, because remember, this is 3 buildings connected to one another. And as I go inside, I open up her door. And her keys are nowhere to be found. Now, this was a big deal because they would charge you $250 to rekey your door if you lost your keys. So for almost 2 weeks, she was in this kind of like limbo where she could not find her keys. They weren't in my room. Like, I looked behind my desk. They were nowhere to be found. Then one day she was doing laundry and she was out of stock. So she went digging in the bottom of her laundry basket, and inside 2 balled up pairs of socks were her keys. And this is just one of many mysterious things that happened while I lived there. Hi, my name's Kristen, and I lived in a haunted dorm when I was in college. And this is another one of my stories. If you're interested in hearing more, you can scroll down the playlist. So this one is actually from freshman year and is from an entirely different dorm, which is in the west end of campus and not in central campus, which is where the older dorms are. Now, this was an older dorm. It was built in the 1930s. And my roommate, who's also my best friend, she is the one that primarily encountered this ghost. So it's about midnight, and I got up to go to the bathroom, walked down the hall, brushed my teeth, and came back to bed. My roommate, who had been reading a book, minding her own business, up on the top bunk, was sitting in the corner of the room with her covers up to her eyes. And I would like to preface that my roommate does not believe in ghosts or spooky stuff. She thinks it's all very stupid. And so she goes, "Didn't you just go to the bathroom? Weren't you not in the room?" And I said, "Yeah, why?" She said, "Somebody just sat on your bed and told me good night." I slept on the floor.
Tell me a ghost story that sounds completely unbelievable but is entirely true.
So I work in healthcare, and I've always worked in healthcare. And when I was 18, I worked in a nursing home. And it was my first job right out of high school, and I loved it. It was fun, and, I enjoy healthcare. Anyway, I was working night shift. And I think anybody that works in healthcare and that works night shift, if you know, you know. This was my first time working a night shift. I usually worked the PM shift, or from 3 to 11. I can't remember what it is anymore, but 3 to 11. But the people that were supposed to come in on nights didn't come. So then I had to stay. So 3 o'clock in the morning, I was trying to finish up some of the duties. I was helping one of the residents with something, and I was taking some garbage from their room into the utility room. And as I'm walking into the utility room, I see out of the corner of my eye what I thought was the nurse walking into another resident's room across the hallway. And so I walk in the utility room, I drop my stuff off. It takes me 30 seconds to do. It's not that hard. So when I come out, I look up and I can see the call lights off. So the call light, if you don't know healthcare, they're outside the rooms and they let you know that somebody needs something. So I thought the call light was on when I went in the utility room. That's why I thought the nurse was going in there, and it was off when I came out. So then when I go down the hallway, I can see the nurse standing at the end of the hallway by the nurse's cart. So I go down and I ask her, what did this resident need? And the nurse kind of looks at me puzzled and says, "I don't know. You're the one that answered the light." And I said, "Nope, I didn't. Kind of figured you answered it when you walked in there." And she goes, "What are you talking about? I haven't even been down there this whole night. I'm still passing her meds or doing whatever she was doing up there." She goes, "I haven't been down there." And I'm like, "What are you talking about? I literally watched you walk in there." She goes, "I have not been down there. I've been at this cart since the shift started." And she could see the weird, puzzled look on my face, I guess. So then she was she got this shit grin on her face. And she goes, "You saw her, didn't you?" And I go, "Care to fill me in? Who was that?" She goes, "We have a ghost. We have a ghost in the nursing home. We think it was a nurse. And she used to answer call lights, or she is answering call lights. That's why we think she was a nurse. And people see her all the time on the night shift." And I always tell people that this story always freaks me out. I know I do paranormal stuff all the time, and I'm usually a skeptical person when it comes to that, because I think a lot of stuff can be explained. But I always tell people, I think the reason that story sticks out so much is, number one, it happened to me, so I know what I saw. And number two is that I know what I saw. I knew I saw a person walk in that room. There was no doubt in my mind. I didn't think I saw something. It wasn't a shadow. It wasn't a blurry thing. I know I watched somebody walk into that room. It has always stuck with me and has always freaked me out. That's my ghost story.
Guys, I'm kind of freaking out right now because I've tried to film this. This is my 4th time filming this video. I tried to film it on TikTok 3 times, and now I'm in my camera filming it, because every single time that I film it, it just closes. Not the app, but like I'll press check and then it'll just delete the whole video. Or it'll only get to the point when I start explaining my story, and as soon as I start explaining it, then it like just deletes the recording. So you know the Mandela effect thing, okay? So the girl that had the fucking antique, and then she moved, and then she found another one, and she only bought one, but they had the exact same markings, and she was like, how the hell did I get 2 of these? There were only 1. So I'm going to get in bed. I see on my bed my AirPods. I see them there, and I'm like, I'm coming for you later. Okay? Put the kiddo to sleep. She is out. She's out. I'm like, it's mommy's time to waste away her sleep schedule on TikTok. I get my AirPods, pop them open, put the right one in, okay? Right one's in. Right one's not connecting. So I'm like, I'm irresponsible, I didn't charge them. That's on me. Let me put the left one in. It's probably charged. Put the left one in, go to put the right one back in. There is a right AirPod in the right slot, but I have one in my hand, and I know I failed math, but I only have 2 of these, okay? So why do I have 3 of these? So I start freaking out. I'm like, it's fucking happening. It's happening to me right now. So I freak out. So I get up. I turn my flashlight on. I'm poor. I found these, okay? I found them. I could not return them could not return them to the owner. Found them. I can't afford 2. I didn't have another one laying around. So I'm like, I know they're your friends, okay? I don't have a whole lot of friends, but I've only had 2 friends over to my house in the past month. So I call them. I'm like, hey girl, are these yours? She's like, no. Hey, just tell me that they're yours so I know I'm not going crazy, please. Sorry, boo. They're not mine. So then I'm like, well, let me see whose they are. Because, you know, you open them, they have a name. I named mine Steve, because I name all my shit Steve. These are named Steve.
Most of y'all know how I feel about my neighborhood, right? And how it's a fucking simulation. Like, literally all the houses are the same, right? Why the fuck are all these white cars like dead ass?
Okay. I have not told the story publicly, ever. I've told it, like, all my friends know it, and my family knows it. I've never told the story publicly, so I'm gonna do my best. Okay. So, I want to preface all of this with saying it was 2007, okay? This was 2007. I was 19. I was very, very young. I did not know any better. We're starting with that, okay? We listen and we don't judge. So this is 2007. I was in kind of a tumultuous relationship. We would break up, get back together, break up, get back together. And one of the times we broke up, I was like, really wanted to go on a date. And for me, I know everyone. If you know me personally, you know I know everyone. You know. There's 2 things you know about me. 1, I'm always late. I try really hard. I have severe ADHD, very bad time blindness, terrible time management, and anxiety. Those three combined, I'm a nightmare. And I apologize for that. If you know me, you understand. So, but the other thing about me is I know everyone. The 2 things about me, I know everyone. Okay. So I didn't want to go on a date with anybody that I knew. I didn't want my friends to set me up. I wanted to go on a date on one of these breaks he and I were on, which, whatever. So again, I'm going to preface this next part one more time. 2007. We listen and we don't judge. Okay. One of my friends was like, hey, have you ever heard of Craigslist? You know, they do personals and you could meet someone who, you know, you would never have to talk to again and maybe just have a one-night stand or like go on a date, whatever. And I was like, okay. All right. I'm liking it. So I put an ad up. I did some research and then I put an ad up and I was like, you know, looking for somebody to go on a romantic date with, you know, just got out of a breakup, not looking for anything serious, just want to kind of have some fun. And I immediately got responses, like a lot. So I start talking to a guy. He's immediately like, I'm here for work. Or it was either I'm here for work or I'm taking time off work and I'm visiting. I can't remember what it was. It was either he was in the area for work or he was taking a break from work and he was visiting the area. I can't remember which. But he was like, he just seemed really cool, and he was like, this is how tall I am, this is what I look like, and I really just want to take someone to go look at the stars in Sonoma County. The night sky is so beautiful here. And I'm like, well, I could meet you. And I love space. There's a third thing about me you don't know. I love science, and that includes space. I fucking love space. So I was like, look at the stars. Yes, that's exactly what I'm looking for. Like, no, like casual, no, whatever. So we're talking back and forth, and I'm like, look, I really need to meet you in a public space first. Let's grab a drink. Let's hang out. I know I'm 19. Mom, I want you to not listen to this part, okay? I had a fake ID, okay? And I knew this one bar where they never carded you anyway, so it didn't matter if you had a fake ID or not. And that was the bar I liked to go to. And my friends. It was a cool little punk dive bar, whatever. So I'm like, hey, let's meet at this bar. He, very resistant, immediately did not like that idea, did not want me to meet him in a public place. I don't know whether it was like a public place or he just didn't want to go to a bar, but he was like, I just don't, like, that's not my vibe. And I'm like, look, but I don't know you, and in order for me to feel comfortable, I really want to do this. And he's like, okay, fine, we'll do that. Bear in mind, he only said, okay, fine, after I sent him a very cute picture of myself. Like, I'm a large chested gal with a lot of cleave. And he was like, okay, fine, we'll meet you. So we meet at the bar. I am 10 minutes late, which is basically early for me. I see him and I walk straight in and I walk up to him and he reaches his arm out. I give him a hug. Immediately when we started to hug, I knew. I was like, I don't know how to explain it, but it's like this gut feeling that I had that I was like, oh, no. And I still to this day can't explain. I've had that feeling a few times in my life, but I still can't explain it. I can't explain it. It was an immediate no. So a timer went off in my head. I'm like, this date's not going to last very long. There's no way. I can't stand this dude already. But because the first thing out of his mouth is, wow, you're really late. And I was like, actually, that's only 10 minutes. That's technically early for me. So you're welcome. But I didn't say that. What I said was, I'm so sorry. I was really anxious, which was true. I was very anxious. I said, it's my first date in 2 years. I'm out of a long relationship. I just was very anxious getting ready. And then this man proceeded to talk about my lateness and bring up my lateness for the following 30 minutes nonstop. I order my drink. We're sitting there talking. I'm like telling him about myself and I'm like saying, oh, there's a few spots we could go to, blah, blah, blah. We're talking a little bit. He keeps bringing up me being, well, yeah, but you were kind of late. So like, we better get a move on. I'm like, okay. So I'm like sipping my drink, realizing like, there's this, like, I've got to get out of this. So I'm like, hey, do you mind? I just got to go to the bathroom real quick. Give me a moment. He seems annoyed that I want to go to the bathroom. I go to the bathroom. I immediately pull out my Nokia brick and I'm like, hey, calling one of my best friends being like, hey, I need you to get me out of this date. I need you to call me in like 5-ish minutes and I need you to get me the fuck out of here because this guy's already a nightmare. And she's like, say less, got you. So I go back out and I realize, oh, I left my drink with him. Dumb. And the second I saw my drink on the bar, I went, crap. Then the second I sit down, he like pushes my drink to me and he's like, hurry up and finish so we can go. So I like take the drink to my mouth and I'm like pretending to sip through the straw. Not at all. I was not. And then I was like, all right, now I got to fill these next 5 minutes. Good thing I never shut the fuck up. So it's really easy to do that. So I start talking and all of a sudden in the middle of me talking, he just leans forward and tries to kiss me. But instead of kissing me, he like kind of headbutts me and our teeth clink and his tooth hits my lip. And I immediately am like, oh, that's going to swell up. And then it turns into like a weird, like, kiss, and then he pulls away and he goes, God, I've been waiting all night to do that. And I was like, oh, okay, thanks. But it was, to this day, I will say that is the worst first kiss I've ever had. And not because I found out later he was a serial killer, because it was terrible. So my Nokia brick starts to ring in my bag. And if you remember those, you could hear that shit across the stadium. That was the loudest phone I've ever owned. So I'm like, oh, shoot, this is my best friend. She would never call me in the middle of a date unless it was an emergency. So let me just take this real quick. And then I'm like, oh, sorry, I can't hear her. I'm just going to step outside. I've never done this in my life ever. I have not done it since. But I stepped out that door and I swear to you, something in me just went run. I sprinted to my car. I jumped in. I slammed the door behind me. And then I literally skid out of the parking lot. Like I went out of this parking lot. What my friend says to this day is all I could hear was all I could hear was, hold on, I can't hear her. I'm going to step outside. And then I heard slam. Like, and then that was a joke amongst my friends that like I was the girl who just sprinted away from a guy at a bar. It was funny, I guess. It was funny. A couple years later, I'm working at a mortuary. One morning I come in early to like check in whatever bodies we got over the night, to set up cremations for the day, whatever. And I would always get there extra early so I could drink a cup of coffee and I could watch the news, or not watch, but like read the news, right? And I would always read Yahoo News. That's how old this is, okay? So I open up the Yahoo News app. I just said app. I opened up Yahoo News in a browser. There we go. I'm back. Okay. And the first thing I see is notorious serial killer apprehended. And I was like, what? And so, of course, I clicked on it because, like, that's huge news. And I scroll and I'm reading and I scroll and all of a sudden a picture of him pops up. And I literally dropped my coffee onto my keyboard. Like, I froze. I fucking panicked. The first person I called was that friend. And I was like, I ran away from him for a reason. I bet you feel terrible now. Which I'm sure she did. Oh, God, I'm going to have to make this 2 parts. I hate this. But I couldn't believe it. And his name is Israel Keys. And to this day, I'm 100% sure had I not had him meet me in that bar, there's no way I would have survived that. If I had met him in the middle of nowhere, there's no way I would have survived it. And it has been something that has haunted me. Damn it, I have to make a part 2.
When I tell you the weirdest thing ever that I've ever experienced just happened to me, let me break it down for you, okay? I do have to say, I'm a follower of Jesus Christ. I love him. He is my Lord and Savior. I do not believe in the Matrix. Okay, let me just explain. I am OCD. I am a clean freak. I like organization, everything, okay? When I tell you I organize my daughter's stuffed animals and toys and books at least once a week. At least once a week. I just organized her books 3 days ago. I also want to preface by saying that I know my daughter's toys and books like the back of my hand. I literally clean them and organize them all the time. I'm so anal about it. And I also just know her books because my daughter loves books. We read books all day long. Here she is, another book in hand. Okay? Her 2 favorite books, The Pout Pout Fish and I'll Love You Till the Cows Come Home, right? Okay. My daughter received this book, I Love You Till the Cows Come Home, when she was still in my belly from her auntie, who has a beautiful note in here. Oh, wrong page. From her auntie. Okay. I also keep said book up here because it's her most read book. I know this book. Okay? Please tell me why she went to go grab a book down here because we have so many books that we keep them down here. Even though we have so many, I still know all of them, okay? She grabs this book from there, and I'm like, oh, that's weird because it's always up here. And I noticed that it's up there too. So then I'm sitting here realizing she has 2 of the same books. Okay, explanation number 1. It could have been one of her friends. I checked. Not. It's not. None of them left them behind. I would have noticed if she left the book of her friends. And also, mind you, I just organized her books 2 days ago. Let me go a little bit deeper, okay, because this is really ironic. My best friend's daughter, her birthday was a couple weeks ago. I bought her this same book because it's one of Brinley's favorites in this form. Okay? Why would I have bought it for her if we had one? I could have just given this to her. And also, there's no way, I remember everything she got for her birthday. There's no way I would have kept one, like duplicates. I would have brought this to the thrift store to give this away because we're like, we don't need 2. Like, this is just bizarre. At first, I was like, that's weird. I'd never experienced like a quote-unquote glitch in the Matrix. And then I was like, no, like, actually, this is weird. And then I like almost got into tears because I was like, no, actually, this is really weird. Because I don't believe in the Matrix, okay? But like, this crap is weird. What the heck? So then I look it up. It turns out people deal with duplicates of glitches in the Matrix all the time. Like multiple stories of people knowing that they just had one of that item. And then, bam, there's 2. There's 2. So now I have 3. One is for her friend that I'm giving. Again, why would I have bought this if I had 2 already? And my mom is like, Libby, there is a valid explanation. There is. No, there really isn't, actually. Because it doesn't belong to her friends. And I just organized it, and it wasn't there. Have you guys experienced this? Because I've never experienced this until this time, and now I'm like, what is happening? What is this? Okay. Please help me. I feel like I'm going crazy.